Hey and welcome back to HyperTora. I've got my Tokyo Treat box here for November. Arrived a day or two ago. I've only just had a chance to open this one up. I cannot for the life of me remember, like most of the times I open these boxes, what the theme was. They usually email that out. I've entirely forgotten, but I imagine it's something around the autumn because it's November time. So let's open this one up and see what we got inside. So the theme seems to be Japan Express. So we do have some autumny things on that cover there, which is pretty cool. And we've got a bullet train and everything else on there. Before I go too far into this, if you are watching this box in October and you order this box by the end of October, then this is the box you actually get. But do bear in mind sometimes they do make substitutions if they run out of things. And there is currently a typhoon going through Japan, or has just gone through Japan. So it's very likely that shipping will be delayed for most boxes later than usual. I've been quite lucky because this shipped just before the typhoon hit. But let's go through this box and see what we got. So our very first item at the top of the box is a packet of potato chips. It looks like maybe some sort of sea salt chips. They've also changed their booklet slightly. Rather than having the premium down the left-hand side, they've now put it across the top. That's quite interesting. But yeah, so these potato chips are from our classic box, luxury potato sea urchin flavour. I don't think I've had sea urchin, so that'll be something different to try. I don't know what sea urchin tastes like. And just hope like some of the crisps and savoury things we get, but they're not too overly fishy when they're put into savoury snack form. Next up, we have some sort of corn cracker, I think. So this is a classic item box. It says potato snack corn potage. They seem to have even started putting in this booklet where these things come from. So this is supposedly from Hokkaido. So that'd be interesting. We've had things like this before, but a lot of the things that come in discs like these ones tend to be rice crackers. Next up we have another corn potage snack. So it's very traditional for autumn. I think a lot of the stuff in this box is going to be things like autumn corn and sort of fruits and veg. So yeah, next up we have some poriki, if I pronounce that right. So these are brown sugar flavour. These always remind me of the soy sauce sticks that you tend to get. So it's unusual to actually find these in different flavours. It's certainly the first time we've had these, as far as I'm aware, in a brown sugar flavouring. So something nice and different there. Next up we have this is brown sugar bar. We've had brown sugar bars before. They have their own unique flavour because of the brown sugar, but it is very much just a bar of fluffed up sugar. So apparently there's some honey in there as well. So they're alright, they're pretty nice. If you're not used to brown sugar, it's a bit of a different flavouring than what you're probably used to. Next up we have some sort of mochi choco. So this is from the classic box. Just looking at this reminds me of something in the UK, but we have there's a wagon wheel, which is like a marshmallow with jam in the middle, kind of covered in chocolate, kind of biscuit. This looks almost similar to that in shape, but it looks like there's going to be mochi in there instead of marshmallow, which would be interesting. There is a picture of nuts on the packaging, so if you're allergic to nuts, I probably wouldn't want to try this out. Next up, we have some, I think it's a biscuit with some chocolate coated biscuit. So this is from the premium box. It's a Constellation chocolate cookie. So obviously I suppose that's to go with some sort of stargazing for the autumn theme there. Next up we have some little chewy apple flavoured, it says green apples in a bag. Quite often you see these and they've got some sort of smartphone thing on the front, and they put these in line as if they were different apps. So we've had stuff like this before. Usually sometimes you get them in different flavours, but that seems to be just an apple one. and I always find them quite nice. They're reasonably chewy candies. They're not like gummies, but they're not overly hard. Next up, we have our Amiibo. So this is usually from the classic box. This one seems a little bit crushed in the packaging compared to how they normally are, because these do have a kind of hollow tube that goes down the middle. So this says Takoyaki Amiibo, so that'll be interesting to try out. Takoyaki is obviously octopus balls, so I imagine these kind of things I probably won't be able to pick up the octopus so much. It'd be the sauce that goes on the takoyaki that gives it quite a strong flavour. Next up, these look a bit like pancakes. So these are from the classic box, and it says chocolate dorayaki. A type of pancake sandwich filled with red bean custard, or in this case chocolate. So that's quite interesting. Yeah, they look pretty nice. Pretty miniature versions of what you'd probably buy if you actually got something similar to this in a festival. The chocolate does look a little bit melted in there. You don't often see too much red bean paste stuff in these Japan boxes, which is odd considering it's quite a staple for some things like mochi and teriyaki and other things that you see at festivals. Next up, we have a chocolate pie bar. So this is from the classic box. Again, I think there's cocoa beans there actually. So that looks reminds me of sausage roll, but with the chocolate in the middle. So that'd be an interesting try. We haven't had anything like that in a while. Next up, we have, this looks like some small gummies, which is pretty cool. So this is from the premium box. It's Anpanman apple gummies. So that'll probably be one of the favourite things for me in the box, because I absolutely love the gummies we get. We haven't had too many apple flavoured gummy things lately, so I suppose the apple is going with the sort of more autumn theme here. So that'd be pretty nice. Next up, we have, I can't even tell what this is, from the classic box, I believe. This is, if I can pronounce it, Kibidango. It says a sweet candy stick in peach flavour. So I quite like peach flavouring from Japan, so that's going to be pretty nice. I can't tell what it's going to be like because it feels like there's a cardboard protective packaging inside that to stop whatever it is being crushed. So that's going to be a nice mystery. Next up, we have matcha sandwich cookies. So this is a premium box item. They haven't actually put matcha in the box in a little while, so it's quite interesting to see these turn up again. I haven't actually seen matcha cookies like these before. This is a brand new item, but I haven't seen Tokyo Treat boxes, which is really nice. Because when you get these boxes for a while, sometimes you get some very similar items pop up. So that's going to be pretty interesting. Usually matcha in these is sort of mixed up with white chocolate, because obviously matcha tends to be a powder before you mix it with something. So chocolate tends to be the staple, or white chocolate tends to be the staple that these things are mixed with. Next up, we have our DIY candy. So this comes in the classic box. It looks like we got some sort of fishing theme here, which is pretty cool. Looking at the packaging, I don't know if we might have to mix this up with water. I think we've done something similar to this before. I don't know if it was a fishing packaging. But looking at the instructions, it now looks familiar. But we will go through that later on. Next up, we have some Kit Kats. I'm not entirely sure what they are. So that's these are from Kyoto. Hoicha Kit Kats, if I pronounce that right. So I believe. Yeah, so this is green tea roasted over charcoal for a deep tea flavour. It's the first time I've seen Kit Kats like this. I think it's the first time I've seen brown Kit Kats. Because a few years ago I did a Kit Kat video with Japanese Kit Kats in it. I don't quite remember this one. So that'd be interesting to try out. And then our final item, which is also from the premium box, is Coca-Cola Apple. I've definitely not tried apple flavoured Coca-Cola before, so that's going to be pretty funky to try out. Love the kind of golden packaging there. So that would be pretty cool. That's everything that's inside this box. And as far as I'm aware, everything's in there, which is pretty cool. So yeah, we've got a new layout on the booklet, which is pretty cool. So we've got classic items over 2 lines and the premium on the top. Usually, as far as I'm aware, you get the same booklet, whether you get the premium or classic. So if you get premium, you can see what you've missed out. And there's even sometimes a little bit more information in these booklets if you've never been through them before. There's challenges and competitions and prizes that you can take part in, which is pretty cool. But yeah, let's try some of these things out. So I'm going to start with a drink. And I'm always careful with these when I open them up after they've travelled all the way from Japan. It's quite a nice appley flavour there, combined with the smell of Coca-Cola. It's a very subtle hint. It is very much a mix between Coca-Cola and fizzy apple, or what I describe as in the UK as a sort of fizzy apple soda. So that's pretty cool. That's quite nice actually. It tastes quite refreshing. It trades off some of the Coca-Cola taste for some of the apple soda flavouring. So that's quite a unique flavour I haven't tried before, so that's pretty cool. Next up, we've got our matcha green tea cookies. Be interesting to see what these are like. So, we've got little biscuits in a tray. Here, so we see there's a nice little pattern on the outside, and then we've got a little bit of matcha on the inside. I suspect it might be mixed with a little bit of white chocolate. I'm not entirely sure. But it's got quite a more concentrated flavouring in there for the matcha than you get in things like Kit Kats. So if you're not too keen on matcha Kit Kats, you might find those green tea cookies a bit rich. Nonetheless, it's quite nice. I think I'm mainly over the green tea ceremony I took part in a few years ago, because that is very bitter when they use pure matcha. Next up, we've got the tea Kit Kats. So even though they're brown, I believe it's green tea that's been roasted on charcoal, and there is almost a greenish tint to this still. So that'd be interesting. It's got a bit of a rich tea flavour. It's not very rich in green tea. It's not very bitter in that sense. It's definitely different to green tea Kit Kats you get, which are bright green. Maybe because I've just had the matcha cookie, that's sort of lowered how that tastes. It's pretty nice though. If you like tea, that will probably be quite a nice Kit Kat for you to try out. Next up, we shall try out our Porky. So these are supposed to be brown sugar flavoured. And pull one out. So these are actually different to what it looks like on the packaging, which surprises me slightly. Whenever I see those, they remind me of the soy sauce stuff. So they're actually hollow on the inside. They don't give the same brown sugar taste you get from this quite so much, except in the aftertaste. Initially they taste almost like what plain versions of these would taste like, but as far as I can tell, there's not that in there. So that's quite a unique snack. I've not had something like this before. I think I can just about see the kind of imprint that they do on these little sticks here, on this stick here actually, which isn't so easily noticeable on the brown sugar. But nonetheless, it's quite different. But from that, I'll go on to the brown sugar snack. So this is usually quite easy to break because it's just whipped, sort of fluffed up brown sugar. It always amazes me how it's clear on the inside, brown on the outside. And I don't know whether they use white sugar for the centre and brown sugar for the outside, or if it's just the way it cooks. But certainly brown sugar, if you've not eaten it like this before, has its own very rich flavour compared to normal sugar. And that will certainly give you a bit of a sugar high, because you're basically eating pure sugar there. Next up, we have a little mochi cookie, or a thing. So this is interesting. It's quite soft and squishy. I'm assuming there's going to be some sort of nut in here based on the packaging. So I think the centre of this is sort of a mixture of chocolate and some sort of nut. But what interests me is the mochi in this is a lot more transparent than obviously what's on the packaging. It's quite nice. I wouldn't say it's going to be the same as if you go and get fresh mochi from Japan, because obviously it's a savoury snack. But nonetheless, that's pretty nice actually, and I'll save the rest of that for later. Next up, we'll try our chocolate bar pastry thing. So it always reminds me of a sausage roll like we have in the UK. Just the way it's the pastry with the markings across the top, except we've got chocolate in it instead. It does almost look a bit dried out on the ends. And it's got quite a rich, I think slightly darker chocolate in that, rather than milk chocolate. It's quite nice, though it is quite a dry pastry. Certainly not like a fresh pastry you'd go and get out of a store. Next up, we shall try our Amiibo. And I want to try and open this up on the side that isn't as crushed. So compared to some of the ones we get of these, which are quite plain, this one's quite seasoned. I can definitely smell that teriyaki sauce on there, or takoyaki. And it certainly has the flavouring of that sauce in there. It's not as strong as fresh takoyaki, which you might get in Japan. It's certainly not as strong as the ones I had when I went to Osaka. But nonetheless, that's a really nice Amiibo, and because it's not as strong, it's probably a little bit more palatable for a lot of people, because sometimes the sauce can be quite strong on the octopus balls. Next up, we shall try out these potato chips, because I'm quite interested to see what sea urchin potato chips taste like. There is a little bit of a fishy smell to it, and as usual, that's about how many crisps you get in the bag, which I think is a little bit disappointing. I know they put air in to help it sort of travel, so they don't get crushed, but I think they could have done that without using so much packaging. But there is a bit of a unique flavour to them. You can taste the sea salt with a hint of fishiness to it. Because I haven't had sea urchin before, I don't really know how to describe that. So if you do get this box and you have these chips and you try them out, do comment down below and let me know what you think of them. Next up, we have our little pancakes with chocolate in the centre. So these are actually quite soft, so they're proper pancakes. So it's pretty cool that they've managed to make these and put them in such a way that it's a savoury snack that can last a while. So that's really nice, especially with the chocolate in the centre. And I can easily see how you do these with red bean paste. They're really quite nice actually. I wasn't expecting to like that as much as I did, so that's pretty cool. Next up we have our constellation cookie. So there's just one little cookie in here. We've got a constellation on the back, so one of the stars. We've got a Leo, which is good for me because I'm actually a Leo, so that matched up quite nicely. On the back of a cookie. There are some dates on them. I don't know what they are, whether they might be used by dates or something. And there's also some characters on there, which I can't read. But yeah. It's pretty nice. The chocolate on this is certainly different to the other chocolate. Can't quite tell if it's slightly more milk chocolatey or slightly more rich. But yeah, certainly different. Next up, we have some of our first corn potage snack. So these are little puff balls, or not quite balls, but oblongs. I think they're going to be very much like the puff balls that we've had before. So they're lightly seasoned. They taste a bit like there's, now I'm looking at the packaging, I was about to say butter in there as well. So they taste quite buttery on top of the corn, which is quite a unique flavour in itself. I obviously hadn't looked at the packaging properly before I ate that. Next up we have our other corn potage snack. So these come in the shape of discs. So we've got several in here. This one's a little bit mashed up from the travel. But these always remind me of the rice snacks you get, and then you get jams or other things with them. They're quite nice actually. They almost got a bit of a deep fried flavouring to them, which makes them quite Moorish. So that's surprisingly more tasty than I thought it was going to be. And a very different flavour to the other corn potage snack that we have. Next up, we have this little peach thing here. I'm very curious as to what this actually is, because it comes in a cardboard, which it's fallen out of. So it's got a little bit of plastic wrap around it, which is similar to the plastic wrap that we've sort of had discussions before, I think, on chats on previous videos of whether this plastic wrap is edible or not. So this seems to be cut into sort of 3 portions. It looks a little bit like gum. It doesn't particularly have a smell to it, but it certainly is a bit like chewing gum in the feel of it. I'm not entirely sure what to make of that. It reminds me a bit of a fruit bar, but sort of made up of bits of fruit. So that's obviously peach. I'm not entirely sure I'm too keen on that. Possibly after having the corn potage snacks, I can't quite taste the flavour of that properly. The best I can make out from that is that it's some sort of fruit bar, which is a bit different, but it's probably not my favourite item in this box. Next up, we have our apple gummy candies. or chewies. And these always interest me. Once you get these open, I love it. You get a little cocktail stick with these, so that you can cocktail stick them up to eat them. So that has a really nice strong apple flavour in it. It is a little bit more chewy than I remember it being, but nonetheless they're really nice. Again, pure sugar, so if you get these boxes you probably want to spread out how quickly you eat these things compared to how I do in the videos. Next up we have our other gummies. So these are pretty cool. Again, we've got this kind of plastic like packaging on the back, which we couldn't decide I had trouble deciding last time whether this was some sort of rice paper that's partially edible or not. I mean, you need to sort of pull it off to get the gummy out, but it tears up very easily, which can make it a bit difficult to get it all off. I usually try and get it all off because I'm never entirely sure what it is or whether it's fully edible. But I think sometimes I've had little bits of it come out before there, so I'm not going to risk it. So these are, we've got all the different characters on here as well, which is pretty cool. And I think these are apple flavoured again, like some of the other things. So we've got a nice apple theme this month going. They smell nice and appley. It's quite nice, chewy, and very refreshing gummy. There, so that's another one of my favourite items in this box. And then lastly we have our DIY candy. So we have had, I don't know if it's exactly the same in terms of shapes of what we've got in here, but I certainly remember having this DIY before. Now I opened it up and looked at the instructions and everything. I remember this kind of fishing rod with a rope on it. So inside the packaging we have our little fishing rod with a string on it. We have our mould, and then we've got a little scoop for measuring stuff out, and a packet of powder. So as usual, my Japanese is terrible and I definitely can't read Japanese, so other than following pictures are a struggle. So luckily now we have these booklets. We have our little DIY instructions in them there. And it's amazing that this is volume 47. I've had Tokyo Treat since before they did these, which means I've had more than 47 boxes, or been subscribed for more than 47 months. But yeah, so we've got a fishing sort of mould here, and you can see there's sort of an outline here for the fishing line, and this is supposed to somehow be placed in here so that it follows that line round, which with this kind of string isn't brilliantly easy because it has a mind of its own. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to manage this very easily. Yeah, it's sort of in there. I think you kind of want it dipping down into each one slightly, but I'll probably have to readjust that as we add stuff. So next up we have to add the powder to the fish moulds using the scoop. So we've got a large and a small. The photo in the booklet shows them using the large scoop for the powder. So I'll try and put about a scoop into each one. But I imagine we kind of want these to be a bit level. And I'm hoping the camera's at enough of an angle for you guys to see this. If not, I'll try and pick it up. So we got the powder in those. Again, now the powder's in, I probably want to push the string down in it slightly. Like so. The fishing rod makes this a bit more difficult. So hopefully you can see there. We've got powder with the string. And then next up we add water to these using the small scoop. So I've got a nice big jug here, small scoop, and we just pour this onto that powder and let it soak in. And these should become sorts of like gummy-ish candies from memory, which are pretty cool. I think some of this bigger one might need a little bit more. But I am careful with these nowadays because I do have a history of sometimes putting too much water or liquids into these. So before that sets, what I'm going to do while that water's soaking in is push this string down in to the mould a little bit more. Now this is in here, some of that spare powder can probably fit in one of those moulds that's compacted down a little bit more, which is pretty cool. So that can have a little bit more water. There we go. So the instructions now say that you're meant to leave that for about 5 minutes. I think one of those fishes I put a little bit too much water in, so I'm going to give that a little bit of a turn. So I've got the string in 3 of those. The 4th one doesn't really want to stay in there because it's already starting to set. So I don't think I'm going to have much luck with that. Now I can't remember, we have some of these, we've had similar things to these that are turned into gummies before. I'm not sure if these are going to turn into gummies or if they're going to be like more of a hard powdered style candy. But I certainly won't wait the full 5 minutes before pulling these out. So I don't think I quite have that patience. But these are supposed to just pop out and come out on your fishing line like so, which is pretty cool. That's why I love DIY candies, and you can do stuff like this. So I'll leave them there. I'm going to pull the other one out that didn't get stuck in. So these are a bit like sugar that's been mixed with water. And they're not the gummy version of what I was thinking of. And then the more powdered sugar that's been clumped together like so. So when you eat these, it do quite dissolve in your mouth into sort of a powdery substance. Really nice flavouring on these. I believe it's grape flavoured, which is quite traditional. I think with a lot of these sort of DIY candies, grape flavouring is quite a common theme. So that's quite a nice DIY. I certainly think we've had something like this before. I'm not sure if it's this exact DIY in terms of the shapes of the fish, but I definitely remember we've had this particular one before with a fishing rod and putting stuff through it. So it's a bit of a repeat there in a sense for me. But yeah, that's everything in this box. Thank you for watching the video. Please do comment down below and let me know what you thought of this box in general, what you liked, what you don't like. I enjoy reading what you guys think of these boxes as well. If you order this box, obviously you have until the end of October to get the November box. If you do want to order this, if it's your first time, there's a discount code or discount link down in the description you can use. Only use it if it's your first time, because Tokyo Treat do look them up if you've been subscribed before. And if you do buy this box or you've bought this box and your shipping's a bit later in the month, do give it a little bit longer to arrive than usual, because the typhoon that's hit Japan is going to be, I think, very larger delays than usual, especially from previous typhoons, just because of the size of it. So hopefully none of those packages have gone lost in the typhoon, but I think certainly they will be delayed. So you might have to wait a little bit longer than usual. But otherwise, thanks for watching. If you like the video, please do hit the like button down below, and please do hit the subscribe button down below as well if you want to see more unboxing videos. And if you want to make sure that you hear about when I get new unboxing videos up, make sure to hit that notification bell as well. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.